and welcome to Wedding Secrets with me, Claire. Thank you so much for joining us on another fantastic video. Now, in case you haven't heard of us here at Wedding Secrets, we are the industry experts. Now, we've been using our knowledge to create these amazing YouTube videos so you can come and join, and it gives you a chance to find out answers to some of those questions that maybe you're just looking for an expert opinion. Now, do not get me wrong, family, friends, word of mouth is always a great place to start. But sometimes, maybe you're just looking for an answer to a question from somebody who has been in the wedding industry for years and years and years. And that is us at Wedding Secrets. Now, today's video is definitely a part of a wedding which we really enjoy. It's of course choosing your perfect wedding cake for your big day. Now, throughout the years here at Wedding Secrets, we have attended so many different cakes, and you do have to be careful when choosing a wedding cake. There's lots of things to remember, such as the season, the weather, also running your costs, running your budget. But do not worry, we're going to talk all about those throughout this video. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to tell you the 10 best steps when choosing your wedding cake. Now, you might already know some of these steps, or maybe you've never chosen a wedding cake or a cake for a big occasion. Well, do not worry. We're going to break it down for you. We're going to make it super easy to give you that confidence. So when you go to meet with your baker, you know what you should be asking. You know what you should be looking for. And these are tips that we want to give to you to give you that confidence, especially if this is the first time you've done anything such as choosing a cake. So let's get started. We're going to do the whole top 10 steps, and hopefully by the end you will feel prepared and ready, especially at those early stages of choosing your cake. So, number 1, start early. Now, I'm sure we might have some of you watching this video who perhaps you're at the latter stages of planning the wedding. Perhaps you've been putting the cake off. If so, do not panic. It can always be done. It can always be a last minute cake. That's not an issue. However, we do advise your cake being one of the earlier pieces, and I'll tell you why a little bit later. But the very basic reason is, when it comes to good cake makers, good bakers, just like lots of people in the wedding industry, they get booked up. So start early, get your day in their diary. Also, another key reason to start thinking ahead is because you've got to think about your cake depending on the season you're having your wedding. Are you having a winter wedding? Do you want winter fruit in there? Are you having a wedding in the middle of summer? These are all key things you have to consider. And it might seem silly considering this for food, but the last thing you want is a cake sat outside at a beach wedding melting away. So start nice and early. And another key point as well, and this might surprise you, but when you're starting to put your mood boards together, your wedding aesthetics as they call it, your cake can be a real good driving force in establishing the style of your wedding. Now, don't worry, we're going to come back to that in a little while, but do see the cake as not just a snack or something to cut. It's part of your day, it's part of your style. And here at Wedding Secrets, we want you to tell your story on your big day. And that's including the cake. It's part of your day, and I promise you, it's something that your guests will be looking at. Right, number 2, very important one, choosing your baker. Now, there are many good bakers out there, and there are many bad bakers out there. So, best place to start, we always say, is word of mouth. Do you know somebody, your mum, your sister, your auntie, your friend? Can they recommend somebody? But not just because of their design. You want that tried and tested. Have they been to a wedding? Have they tasted that baker's food? Because that is key. You know, I'll talk about social media in my next point, but sometimes just because a cake looks great doesn't mean it tastes great. If you're thinking, Claire, I've not really managed to find a baker through word of mouth, one of the best things that I'd recommend, every local area, especially in spring and summer, they have wedding fairs. So wedding fairs, they're amazing. If you've never been to one, just go. It's usually a collection of local people from the wedding industry, such as dressmakers, caterers, bakers, musicians. So you know everybody in that area, in that event, is close to your area. So these are local bakers that will be in there doing cakes. And normally when you go, they'll have a sample of cakes that they've baked. So that's a great way to find a local baker and to actually taste right then and right there. So, number 1 is start early if you can. Number 2, finding the right baker. And number 3, social media. Ooh, now on Instagram, for example, there are lots of bakers, lots of very creative individuals who are posting images of the most beautiful event cakes. You must have seen them. I know I have when I'm strolling, and they are magnificent. However, do be careful. Just because they look good, you're not actually tasting them. So what I would do is look through their website, look through their social media, and find reviews. See if people, real paying customers, have left them real reviews. Because then you'll start to realize, okay, well, which are the bakers that are good for actual events, and which are more the bakers which are stronger at creating incredible looks of cake. Because remember, the look is one thing, but you need 3 things. You need the look, the taste, and a baker that you can rely on for a professional service. So that's number 3, social media. Now, number 4, align your style. This is just what I briefly spoke about at point number 1. Now, the style of your wedding could be anything. You could have a winter wonderland, a summer beach wedding. You could be having a themed wedding. Are you having a spring? Is it rustic? Is it charming? Is it enchanted? However your style is, even if it's gothic or is it playful, you need all your aspects in your wedding to relate to this. You'll know what I mean. Your flowers, your table decorations, your entertainment. Do not leave your cake out. Your cake is part of your style. So when it comes to thinking about your cake, would you like a whimsical cake, a classical cake? Geometric shaped cakes are coming in really popular. Rustic, romantic, glamorous. Or do you have a pattern for your wedding? Can you bring your pattern into your cake? So have a think about little aspects like that. Now, number 5, an important one. So let's say you've started to look at a baker, you found a local baker, you've looked on Instagram, you've got a bit of an idea of the kind of style you want. Next thing to do, number 5, reach out to that baker and get them booked for a consultation. Now, it's a meeting and it's very normal when you're coming up to your wedding to have lots and lots of meetings with your suppliers. This includes your baker. Make sure you get that meeting in as soon as possible. Now, when you go into the meeting or just beforehand, don't even worry yet about flavors or styles. The key thing, the nitty gritty, the main thing of all is your baker available for the date of your wedding. That is the key thing, the first most important thing, because there's no point wasting time talking about designs and flavors. Make sure they're available on the day. Now, number 6, you've found your baker, you've confirmed that they are free, you're starting to think about styles, which brings us to number 6. Not the most glamorous, but you've got to think about your budget. When you go into that meeting, you need to know realistically how much you can spend on a wedding cake, and that's up to you. I can't answer that. Do you have just a really small slice of a budget? Pardon the pun. Or are you working with an ever-ending budget? You've got to be honest, and do not be afraid, because the baker can work towards that. So, for example, my sister is getting married in summer, and she has a very, very small 10 grand budget for everything. She's decided to cut costs. She's making her own cake. So she's doing her own cake, she's doing her own baking. And yes, that's great. Yes, it's gonna be stressful for her, but she had to be realistic. She didn't have the budget. My cousin's wedding a year ago, she didn't have the budget. A family friend made it. So be realistic, be realistic. Don't stretch yourself too far. Now, I was speaking to a cake designer, and she said, if a couple come in and there's a certain look that they want, but they don't have the budget, there's ways around it. So for example, if they want a big floral display, flowers, now do you know those beautiful handcrafted flowers? That's what costs the most. So there are ways around that, which I'm going to talk to you about in our next point, which brings me to number 7, costing. I know I've said budget, you've got your budget, say you say, okay, £500, but come to point number 7, you want flowers, you want details. If the baker can, what they'll try and do is work to your budget. So for example, those beautiful handcrafted roses, they take a baker hours and hours and hours, and that's what makes the price of it just shoot right the way up. So a really good baker could look at using other things, for example, pre-made flowers or real flowers. Bring bits of your decor from your wedding onto your cake. It will save so much money. But again, that's about you and that's about your budget. But while we are on the cost, the main thing, really what it comes down to, and you need to know this when you go and meet with your baker, the price is dependent not just on design, but also on how many servings are needed. So depending on how many guests you've got, the price will usually go up, as well as your design, your extras, which I just spoke about with the flowers. So let's quickly recap. We started with, make sure you start nice and early in finding your baker. Find a baker that is tried and tested and somebody you actually trust. Number 3, be careful of social media. It's great for inspiration, but look for those customer reviews. Number 4, make sure you're aligning your style. Number 5, get a meeting in with the baker right away. Find out if they're free on your dates. Number 6, budget. Know what budget you've got to work with. Number 7, the cost. How many people are you coming to your wedding? What extras do you want on the cake? And that brings us to number 8. Now, inspiration. The best thing to do with inspiration is go into your meeting prepared. Make sure you have got yourself some really, really nice ideas, some really, really nice visions. And you know, this is the fun part of choosing a wedding cake. Look on Pinterest, look at patterns, look at designs. It's all about what you love, and have fun with it. Remember, this is your wedding cake and you only get to do it once, so have fun. Number 9 is the flavour. Don't worry too much if you don't know what flavour you want. Your baker will help you through that. Traditional flavours, vanilla, chocolate, red velvet. But be adventurous. A baker loves it when you're adventurous. Why not try hazelnut or a seasoned cake, seasoned fruits? And don't forget, you've got to choose your filling as well. Now, traditional ones could be butterscotch, for example, buttercream, chocolate again for the filling. But do not put too much pressure on yourself. Just when you get there, go with an open mind. Sometimes ahead of a meeting, a baker will send you a menu and they'll ask you to choose 3 or 4 to sample at the meeting. Now, finally, number 10. When you go into your meeting with your baker, take pictures with you. Inspiration, try Google searches, Instagram, Pinterest is a great one. Magazines, fabrics, take that inspiration with you and do not be afraid to say, this is what I love. Can you bring this on into a cake? And most of all, above all else, remember it's your big day and choosing the cake is one of the fun and tasty aspects of a wedding. So best of luck, I wish you all the best and we cannot wait to see your pictures of your gorgeous cakes. Give us a like, give us a subscribe and go and have a look at our website. Look at our YouTube, we have so many videos all there and ready for you. Any questions that you have on cakes, we do have a few other videos as well. Or give us a message and we'll speak to you soon.